मैडम बंद हो गया इधर इधर है।
इतना गर्म 42 पे भी
बहुत गर्म हो रहा है सर, बहुत ज्यादा गर्म हो रहा है।
फिर इसको बंद कर। क्या प्रॉब्लम क्या है? कुछ अलग प्रॉब्लम है?
नहीं, वो अभी ये लोग मालिक सेट करके गए, मालिक ने कुछ तो गड़बड़ की थी।
बाहर जाना पड़ रहा है।
वही सर, मेरा दिमाग खराब हो गया।
उधर आ रहा है क्या? उसके सामने हाथ लगाओ।
हल्का हल्का आ रहा है, ज्यादा नहीं।
हवा क्यों नहीं? तो हवा पे तो लगाया क्या?
वो कहूँगा अभी कर
बंद हो गया ना?
शुरू हो रहा है।
कैमरा अभी यहाँ से सेट कर रही हूँ।
उसमें करना पड़ेगा क्या?
नहीं, वो तो इसमें आएगा, मुझे ऐसा लगता है।
पूछो, इंटरेस्टिंग है ना? नो
फॉर्मेलिटी के लिए कर रहे हैं। रियली सही पूछो ना, इसका फायदा कुछ लगे तो भी ठीक है। 1 रुपए का फायदा नहीं है और इस पे इन्वेस्टिंग है, इतना ज्यादा अमाउंट पूरा सेटअप लगा देते हो, वो एनर्जी कहीं दूसरी जगह लगेगी ना तो उसका कुछ आउटकम दिखेगा।
ये चीज अगले 6 महीने से
सर हम लोग ये चीज बोल रहे थे करते हैं, लेकिन कोई सुनता नहीं है।
नहीं सुनते, ठीक है।
अरे मैंने इतनी बार विड्रॉ कर दिया यहाँ से।
अरे जो बैठे हैं तुम्हारे सब ऑफिस के आदमी, बाहर के भी वही रेगुलर है, क्या इस चीज से अच्छा उनको देकर तुम्हें मिलने वाला क्या? ये बताओ, तुम लाखों रुपया बर्बाद कर चुके हो उसके पीछे, अपने को मिला क्या उससे?
कुछ भी नहीं। म्यूट कैसे करूँ? इसमें से तुमको वो करना है भाई, बोलना है।
हाँ तो फिलहाल के लिए थोड़ा
अरे मेरे को एडजस्ट तो करना पड़ेगा ना। तुम्हारा इसमें ये कहाँ है?
और आज का टॉपिक तो ऐसा है ना, कुछ मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है। क्या पब्लिक समझ? अरे मैं किसी को लेके जाना होगा ना प्लीज।
आप ही यहाँ पे रहने करने वाले हो, मैं कुछ नहीं करने वाली हूँ।
मैडम ये बहुत एकदम ब्लैक दिख रहा है।
चालू करके रखना तो मेरे को पता चलेगा।
चालू किया था, ठीक है। स्टे को-होस्ट, रिक्लेम होस्ट, ठीक है।
स्टे को-होस्ट, ठीक है। मैंने भी यहाँ पर स्पेशल पेट्रोलियम से स्टार्ट किया ना। यार बहुत ज्यादा गर्म हो रहा है, बैठा नहीं जा रहा है।
I swear।
तो वहां से बोल, स्टार्ट करके कुछ बोल, मेरे को यहाँ पे म्यूजिक आवाज सुनाई दे। कैसा है?
तो सबको जाएगी ना जो होगा।
फिलहाल तो सेटअप नहीं, कोई नहीं है ना, तो कर ना।
माइक चेक।
इसमें आवाज क्यों नहीं आ रहा है मेरे को?
म्यूट तो नहीं। अरे भाई टीडी का चालू किया क्या ये?
वो चालू है सर अंदर।
चालू है ना?
हाँ, कनेक्ट करके देखो।
माइक चेक।
मेरे को इसमें आवाज नहीं आ रहा है। तेरा अनम्यूट किया हुआ है तूने?
टीडी नहीं चल रहा है तुम्हारा वो। हाँ चल।
ये चालू यहाँ पे आवाज आ रहा है। इसको बंद कर दो।
आप किस मेल आईडी पे? आपके मेल आईडी पे पीपीटी
मेरे मेल आईडी पे है या तो सर्वर में कहीं रखो। क्यों ऐसा हो रहा
क्या तो हुआ ये? लीव किया तो एको बंद हुआ। लीव किया मैंने।
क्यों लीव किया तूने?
रीजॉइन
ऑडियो लीव किया बस।
इसे चालू तो था नहीं। कितना बचा है यार?
अरे स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा, 10:45 हो चुका
मेरे को
है।
म्यूजिक लगाना है।
बना दो।
अभी अच्छा मुझे देखो। मेरा माउस निकाल के आ जाओ आप। नहीं हो रहा तो क्या करूँगा? उसका ऑडियो बंद रख कर।
ऑडियो बंद किया मैंने।
फिलहाल 1 सेकंड बंद रख, मैं जब तक यहाँ पे चालू कर रही हूँ। अरे एसी का कुछ देख, बिल्कुल वो है।
क्या?
एसी का कुछ देख, बिल्कुल हवा नहीं आ रही है, इससे बैठा भी नहीं जा रहा है।
मेरे को तो कैमरा पे मेरा पसीना ना दिखाई दे।
प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
मैंने फिर किया था यार, तुम लोग खुद से उल्टा पुल्टा करके गया। फिर आपसे नोट पे तो नहीं ना।
मेरा इस वाले पीछे से आवाज क्यों नहीं जा रहा है कुछ भी?
मैम डिस्प्ले हो रहा है प्रॉपर।
बट मैम मेरा है ना, आवाज नहीं आ रहा है प्रॉपर।
आ रहा है एकदम क्लियर है।
ओके।
हाँ ये साउंड नहीं आ रहा है। आपने क्लिक साउंड पे क्लिक नहीं किया है।
एक बार इधर आ जाओ ना मैडम।
आ रही हूँ आ रही हूँ आ रही हूँ।
बाकी अभी थोड़ा बनने वाला काम है।
क्या रहता है ना हमारे पास इतना लोगों ना हर चीज में अप डाउन रहता है और ट्रेंड के साथ करने वाला है जबरदस्त बड़ा टेंशन लगेगा
Good morning and warm and welcome to you all. I am Arvind Vishwakarma, your host for today. We continue with our OHMS Industrial Safety Series. Our topic for today is Petroleum Rules 2002 by Mr. Afzal Hassan. He shall be covering Introduction of Petroleum Rules 2002, classification of petroleum products, transport of petroleum products, storage of petroleum products, license requirement, followed by question and answer round. Let's quickly go through agenda. Virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, invoking the blessings of deity, chanting of Gayatri Mantra, introduction of the speaker, presentation by Mr. Afzal Hassan, followed by question answer session and then the closing ceremony. Brief introduction of Dr. Sundar Kataria. Sadgun Sangh, conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with a mission to elevate the quality, safety and environmental awareness level of industry. Sadgun Sangh is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professionals on possible solutions to current issues of industry and economy. About Dr. Sundar Kataria. Designation and organization. He is the chairman and managing director of International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualification, he is mechanical engineer, AMIEE. He is an honorable doctorate in business management. His experience, he started his career in building India's first nuclear power plant at Rawat Bhata, Kota, Rajasthan. He contributed in developing India's first oil and gas field at Bombay High since its inception. He was head of industry and offshore development with DNV for 2 decades. He is founder of first confirmative assessment and inspection body known as International Certification Services Private Limited, which is a provider of total quality solution under single umbrella with wide spectrum of services. His achievements, Lifetime Achievement Award of NACE Corcon, received several national and international awards. Now I request Dr. Sundar Kataria to virtually inaugurate the session.
Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhana sampadah Shatru buddhi vinashaya Deepajyotir namostute Deepajyotir namostute Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhana sampadah Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhana sampadah.
Please join us for the recitation of the Gayatri Mantra. A brief introduction of our keynote speaker, Mr. Afzal Hassan. He is a General Manager Inspection in International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualification, he is BTech in Mechanical, ASND Level 3, Ultrasonic Testing, Radiographic Testing, Magnetic Particle Testing, Penetrate Testing, BARC RT Level 2, Area of Specialization, Non-Destructive Testing, Quality Control and Quality Assurance, Third-Party Inspection, Welding, Pipeline. Please welcome Mr. Afzal Hassan. Over to you, sir.
Bandit
इको आ रहा है, इको।
Yes, good morning. Welcome in the session of Introduction to the Petroleum Rule 2002. Before understand Rule 2002, we have to understand the requirement of Petroleum Act 1934 is an act to consolidate and amend law relating to the import, transport, storage, production, refining, blending of the petroleum. Petroleum may be any liquid hydrocarbon or mixture of hydrocarbon, inflammable mixtures like a liquid, viscous or solid containing any hydrocarbon, and includes natural gas and refineries. So these act is applicable these petroleum products. Petroleum, definition of the petroleum as per the Petroleum Act 1934 means any liquid hydrocarbon or mixture of hydrocarbon and any inflammable mixture like a liquid, viscous or solid containing any liquid hydrocarbons. Petroleum has been categorized in three categories as per the Petroleum Act 1934, Class A, Class B, Class C, depending upon the flash point. Based on the flash point category of Class A petroleum means the petroleum having a flash point below 23 degrees centigrade are considered or are categorized as a Class A petroleum. Petroleum B means the petroleum having a flash point of 23 and above but below the 65 degrees centigrade. Petroleum Class C means the petroleum having a flash point 65 and above but below 93 degrees centigrade. Categorical kind of petroleum, this has three categories. The liquid commonly known by the name of rock oil, rangoon oil, Burma oil, paraffin oil, mineral oil, kerosene, petroleum, gasoline, benzene and benzol, etc. Any inflammable liquid which is made from the petroleum coal, peat or any other bituminous substance from any product of the petroleum, and any liquid viscous mixture having its composition any of the liquid aforesaid. But it does not include any oil ordinary use for the lubricating purpose and having its flash point at or above to 93 degree centigrade. Petroleum rule in exercise of the power confirmed by the section 4, 5, 14, 21, 22 subsection section 29 of the Petroleum Act 1934. Central Government Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas makes rule control over the petroleum notification date 13th March 2002. This rule may be called the Petroleum Rule 2002. Rule 2002 have 12 chapters. Each chapter has defined the requirements of how to handle the petroleum product. So chapter 1 is a preliminary. Part 1 and part 2 is divided in two parts, short titles and general provision. Chapter 2, importation of petroleum. Chapter 3, transport of petroleum. Again, it's divided in the 5 parts: general, transportation, transport by water, coast-wise transport petroleum, Class A, or transport on the land by the vehicle and transport by the pipelines. Chapter 4 is talks about the electrical installations. Chapter 5 is storage of petroleum requiring license. Chapter 6 is storage of petroleum Class C not requiring a license. And Chapter 7 licensing requirement. And Chapter 8 refining of the petroleum. Chapter 9 ethyl lead mixtures, and Chapter 10 testing of petroleum, 11 notice of accident, and 12 exemptions. Total subclause 2002 are specified in the Petroleum Rule 2002. Chapter 1, some important information, important definitions. Act means, which is act because the rule is based on the act. Act means the Petroleum Act 1934 is referred in this rule. Approved, where the apply to the specification means that the specification is authorized by the Chief Controller, including the following oil safety directed standard OSD 105, OSD 16, 117, 18 and 141 and 156. These OSDs are approved from the Chief Controllers. Competent person means a person categorized by the Chief Controller to be competent person, or a person who holds the certificate of competency for the job in respect with the competency is required from an institution recognized by the Chief Controller in its behalf. Container. Container means a receptacle for the petroleum not exceeding 1000 liter in capacity. Hot works. Hot works mean any work which involve welding, burning, soldering, brazing, sandblasting, chipping by spark producing tool, use of certain power driven tool, non flame proof electrical equipment, equipment with the internal combustion engine, and including any other work which is likely to produce sufficient heat capable of igniting inflammable gases. Installation means any premises wherein any place has been especially prepared for the storage of the petroleum in the bulk, but does not include the wellhead tank or service station. Petroleum bulk means the petroleum contained in the tank irrespective of quantity of the petroleum contained therein. Tank means a receptacle for the petroleum exceeding 1000 liter in capacity. Tank vehicle mean a vehicle including a tank wagon with the wagon of capacity 1000 liter mounted thereon, and also include refueler used for refueling of aircraft or on-site refueling of heavy vehicle machinery, stationary equipments. Tank wagon means railway carriage with the tank mounted thereon. Chapter 2 of Rule 2002, general provision of the Rule 2002. Rule 2002, the clause number 3, restriction on delivery and dispatch of petroleum. No person shall deliver or dispatch any petroleum to anyone in India other than the holder of storage license issued under this rule, or his authorized agent or port authority, railway administration person who is authorized under the act to store the petroleum without a license. Petroleum delivered or dispatched under the sub rule 1 shall be of the class and shall not exceed the quantity which is the person to whom it's delivered or dispatched it's authorized to store with or without license under the act. Restriction on delivery and dispatch of the petroleum. Notwithstanding anything contained in the sub rule 2, petroleum class B not exceeding 15,000 liter in the quantity packed in the seal airtight approved containers may be dispatched to the person not holding a storage license, provided that the person dispatching the petroleum has satisfied himself that prior arrangement have been made by the person to whom the petroleum is dispatched for the immediate disposal in the original seal packed or such quantity as in exceed 2005 liters, provided that the dry chemical powder fire extinguisher as means of firefighting in emergency shall be carried in case of containers with more than 2500 liters. Approval of container. Container exceeding 1 liter in capacity for the petroleum class A and 5 liter in capacity for the petroleum class B or petroleum class C shall be of type approved by the Chief Controller. It means no container can be used for transportation of the petroleum product as without type approval if the capacity is more than the defined herein, where the approval of the chief controller is so to be to a type of container not previously approved application together with the copy of drawing to thereof, the scale showing the design material to be used, method of construction and capacity of container together with the 2 sample container and fee of rupees 1000 for scrutiny shall be submitted to the chief controller. Container for the petroleum class A products. Container shall be constructed for the tinned, galvanized, externally rust-proof sheet, iron or steel, and be of the type approval by the chief controller, provided that the glass bottle of capacity not exceeding 2.5 liter and of type approved by the chief controller can be used as a container for the laboratory chemical classified as a petroleum class A products. Container shall be so constructed and secured as not to be liable except under the circumstances of gross negligencies or extraordinary accident to become defective, leaky, insecure in transit, and they shall be kept in proper repair. Container shall have a well-made filling aperture, which shall be fitted with the well-fitting, secured airtight screw plug or screw cap or other caps, means that should not leakage. Container made of sheet iron, steel shall have a following thickness of the metal, capacity of container excessive the free space minimum thickness of prescribed rule, sub-rule 6 of the sheet iron and steel. So according to the capacity is defined here and the thickness respective of the container, not exceeding 10 liter for the thickness requirement is 0.443 mm. If the container exceeding 10 liter and not exceeding 25 liter, the wall thickness should be minimum 0.63 mm. 25 liter to 50 liter, the thickness should be minimum 0.8 mm. 50 above the 50 and up to 200 liter of the container, the thickness requirements is 1.25 mm. Container capacity from the 200 liter to 300 liter, minimum wall thickness should be 1.59 mm. So this is the requirement of design requirement for the container used for the petroleum class A. Capacity of any container other than those approved by the chief controller for the specific purpose shall not exceed 300 liter. So any container, maximum capacity of the container which can be used for the transportation of the type of a class A product, petroleum products. So it should not be more than 300 liter. An airspace of not less than 5% of the capacity shall be kept in each container. So the capacity, whatever the approved, in addition, the container should have a 5% space for air. Container shall bear the stamp, embosses or painted warning, exhibition for conspicuous characters, the word petrol or motor spirit as the equivalent warning or highly inflammable nature of the petroleum. Containers for the petroleum class B and C. Under this clause, container used for the class B and C petroleum shall be constructed of steel, iron, and be type approved by the chief controller. Airspace of not less than 5% of its capacity shall be kept in each container for the petroleum B, or not less than 3% its capacity in each container for the petroleum C. Nothing in this rule shall apply for the container for the defense sector. Empty receptacles. All empty tanks shall have a petroleum class A or petroleum class B. Empty container which had a petroleum class A shall, except when they are opened for the purpose of filling, cleaning, rendering them free from petroleum vapor, be kept securely closed until they have been thoroughly clean and freed from the petroleum vapors. Under the clause Rule 8 of 2000, Petroleum Rule 2002, repair to the receptacles, no person shall cause to be repaired or repair by the use of hot work any tank, container which had a petroleum unless it has been thoroughly cleaned, freed from petroleum and petroleum vapor, otherwise prepared for safely carrying out such hot repair and certified in writing by the competent person to have been so repaired. Certificate required under the sub-rule 1 shall be preserved by the repairer for the period of at least 3 months and produced to an inspector on demand. In the Rule 9, prevention of escape of petroleum. All due precautions shall be taken at all times to prevent the escape of petroleum into any drain, sewer, harbor, river, water course, or of any public road or railway line. Rule 10, prohibition of employment of children and intoxicated persons. No child under the age of 18 years and no person who is in a state of intoxication shall be employed on loading, unloading, transport of the petroleum or in any premises licensed under these rules. Prohibition of smoking, fire, lights, etc. Unless expressly provided in these rules, no person shall smoke any, no matches, fire, light, articles or substance capable of causing the ignition of petroleum shall be allowed at any time in proximity to a place where the petroleum is refined, stored, handled, or in a vehicle's carriage or vessel in which the petroleum is transported. Rule 12, especially precautions against the accident. No person shall commit or attempt to commit any act which may tend to cause a fire, explosion in or about any place where the petroleum is refined, is stored, handled, any vehicle, carriage of vehicle is which petroleum is transported. Even person storing petroleum and every person in charge of engage in the storage, handling or transport of the petroleum shall at a time comply with the provision of these rules and condition of any license relating thereto. Observe all the precautions for the prevention of accident by fire or explosion. Prevent any person from the committing any act referred in the sub-rule 1. Payments, all the fee payable under the rule of the chief controller. So this is the requirement while you apply the license, how much fee has to pay to the chief controller. Now the chapter number 2, importation of petroleum. General requirement, license for the import of petroleum. Petroleum other than petroleum which may be stored without a license under the section 7 of Petroleum Act 1934, no license needed for the transport or storage of limited quantity of petroleum class B, which is class B product is 2500 liter, or petroleum class C product 45,000 liter. Section 8, no license needed for the import, transport, storage of a small quantity of petroleum class A product, which is the limitation is 25 liter. And clause number 9 of the Act, shall not be imported into the India except under the license granted under these rules, provided that such petroleum product may also be imported by the person not having a license if the adequate advance arrangement are made by such person to receive and store the imported petroleum product in the licensed premises. Petroleum exempted. Nothing in this chapter apply to the petroleum class B or C comprising in the ship is stored and manifested. Now the importation of petroleum by sea. By sea, clause number 16, rule number 16 of 2002, port into which the petroleum may be imported. Petroleum shall not be imported into the India by sea except through the part which are duly approved from this purpose by Ministry of Shipping, Governments of India, in consultation with the Chief Controller, declare as a customs ports by the Commissioner of Customs. Notwithstanding anything contained the sub rule 1, Commissioner of Custom may, on the recommendation of Chief Controller, allow to import the petroleum class B or petroleum class C other than in the bulk through any other part. Adequate firefighting facility as per the OSD standard 156 shall be provided at the port handling petroleum. Unloading of petroleum in the bulk shall be either by mechanized arm or by arm horse as approved by the Chief Controller. All horses, pipe and other appliances used unloading of petroleum shall be electrically and mechanically continuous and duly tested as per the code and standard. Anchorage of ship carrying petroleum. Every ship having a petroleum on board shall be anchored at the such anchorage as the consolator shall specify in this behalf, and shall not leave such anchorage without the general or special order of the conservator and subject to such condition as may be specified in the such order. Anchorage shall in no case be same as if that the vessel laden with the explosive and shall be at such a distance from the anchorage from the vessel for the vessel laden with the explosive as to render it impossible for the fire igniting that the former anchorage to affect the vessel at the later, provided that nothing in the rule shall apply shipping having on board petroleum class C. Production of certificate and license for import by C. Every person desired to import petroleum shall furnish personally or through his agent to be Commissioner of Customs certificate of storage accommodation in the form 2 signed by the such person, his agent, or license authorized copy of license for the import and storage of such petroleum. Rule 20, permission of Commissioner of Customs to land petroleum. No imported petroleum shall be landed except with the permission of Commissioner of Customs. If the Commissioner of the Custom, after receiving of a testing officer's report on the petroleum, certificate of storage accommodation in the part 2 required under the Rule 19. Rule 21, landing of petroleum class B, petroleum class C in the anticipation of the testing officer's report. Notwithstanding anything contained in the Rule 20, where the consignee furnishes a guarantee to receive the petroleum if the testing officer's report prove unfavorable. Commissioner of Customers may be anticipation of the testing officer's reports permit any petroleum which they believe to be petroleum class B or class C to be discharged into the boat or to be landed. Permission granted under Rule 1, Sub-Rule 1 shall be subject to the condition that the boat into which the petroleum is discharged shall remain at such place as the conservator may specify, or the petroleum shall be landed at the landing place duly specified for the purpose by him and stored and installation licensed under these rules. Rule 22, unloading of petroleum in the bulk. Subject to the provision of Part 2 of Chapter 3, petroleum imported in the bulk shall be discharged into the storage tank on shore either directly or by means of barges, lighters, especially constructed for carrying the petroleum in the bulk and only at such places as the conservator may be general or special order direct. Subject to the provision of Part 2, Chapter 3, petroleum imported otherwise the bulk shall be landed either the jetty provided for the purpose or in the barge or lighters and only at any such place as the conservator shall direct. No petroleum contained in the container shall be landed unless the such container are free from the leakage or such strength or construction as not to be liable to be broken or to leakage except in the case of gross negligences. Extraordinary accident provided that petroleum contained in container which do not satisfy the requirement of this sub-rule may subject to provision Part 2 of Chapter 3 and such condition as a conservator may impose be landed at the separate landing place approved for the purpose. 24. Rule 24, transshipment of petroleum. Petroleum may be transshipped from one ship to another for conveyance to any other port, whether within or beyond the territory of India, subject to be provision of Part 2 or Chapter 3. Chapter 3, transport of petroleum. Rule number 28, restriction on leaky receptacles. No leaky tank container containing petroleum shall be tendered for transport. Rule number 29 speaks loading of container, barrier, drum, other container filled with the petroleum shall be loaded with the bung upward side. Restriction on passengers, combustible and inflammable cargo. No ship or vessel or vehicle shall be carry the petroleum class A or petroleum class B or C in the bulk if it is carrying passengers or any combustible cargo. Prohibition of smoking fire lights. No person while engaged in loading, unloading or transporting the shall smoke or carrying matches, lighters or other appliances capable of producing the ignition or explosion. Restriction on loading, unloading by night. Petroleum shall not be loaded into or unloaded from any ship, vessel or vehicle between the hours of sunset and sunrise, unless adequate electric light is provided at the place of loading or unloading and the provision of Chapter 4 are complied with. Adequate firefighting facility with personnel are kept ready at the place of loading for immediate use in the event of fire. Rule 33, condition of carriage of petroleum in the bulk by water. So these Rule 33 is applicable if you are transport the petroleum by water. Petroleum in the bulk shall not be carried by water except in ship or other vessel licensed for the carriage of the petroleum in the bulky by an officer appointed by the central government on this behalf. And the petroleum shall be stored in the such part of ship or the vessel in such manner as may be approved by the general special order by the licensing authority after consultation with the chief controller. Tank fittings on the ship or vessels. That these clause number 35 talks the fittings requirements which use on the ship or vessels. Following provision shall apply for the transport of the petroleum other than the petroleum class C in the ship or other vessels, namely All tanks shall be fitted with the independent approved filling and suction pipe walls or the stand pipe with the blank flanges, all the pipe being carried down nearly to the bottom of the tank, and no petroleum in the bulk shall be taken on the board discharge except through the such pipe or wall unless otherwise permitted by the chief controller in writing. All the tanks shall be fitted with the main holes having a screw down covered petroleum tight joints case tank intended for use with the petroleum class A with the ventilators, relief wall approved pattern proper protected with the wire gauges of mesh not less than 11 mesh to the linear container, and ventilator similarly protected shall be fitted all spaces around the tank. Rule 38, restriction on cargo or passengers. No ship or other vessel shall carry the petroleum in the bulk if it is carrying passenger. Any inflammable cargo other than petroleum or coal. This rule shall not apply to the petroleum class C. Used fuel are carried in cellular double bottom under the engine and boiler compartment and under the ordinary hole. Such fuel oil tank and installation connected there with shall comply with the provision of Indian merchant shippings. Rule number 63 is applicable for the transport of petroleum on land by vehicle. Tank vehicles used for transport the petroleums. Every tank vehicle used for the transport of petroleum in bulk on the land shall be built, tested, maintained in accordance with the requirement of laid down in the third schedule and to be type of approved by in writing by chief controller, provided that chief controller may be under the exceptional circumstances to recorded in the writing waive any of the requirement of third schedule. These will be include the approve of trial of the better quality vehicle that will be contribute enhancement of safety petroleum transportation by road under the Indian Code. Tank shall be fabricated and mounted on the vehicle chassis by manufacturer approved by the chief controller. Means no tank is allowed without approved from the chief controller for transportation of the petroleum on land by vehicle. Such as a manufacturer shall apply to the chief controller for approval with the particular facilities and competent person available with him and scrutiny fee for the ₹500. So this is the requirement. No vehicle can be used for transportation of petroleum product on land. Now the tank capacity. In this part, tank forming the part of tank vehicle shall be deemed to include any number of tank on the same chassis, and the limitation therein is specified on the capacity of tank shall be constructed so as to permit of tank containing the quantity specified under the varying degree of temperature. Net carrying capacity of tank shall be 97% of its gross carrying capacity in the case of petroleum class A, and the petroleum class B 98% in the case of petroleum class C. Net carrying capacity of tank truck or tank semi-trailer shall not exceed 25 kiloliter of the petroleum except in case of aircraft refueler, in which case of it should not be exceed 50 kL. Rule 67, vehicle for transport otherwise than in bulk. Every vehicle on which the petroleum otherwise than in bulk is transported shall be strongly constructed and with the side and back of the adequate height and shall be maintained in the good condition. Rule 69, carriage other articles prohibited. No vehicle shall carry any other article while it's carrying the petroleum except when specifically authorized in the writing by the chief controller. Rule 70. Engines of mechanically propelled vehicle. In every mechanically propelled vehicle used for transport by road of the petroleum other than petroleum class B, otherwise than in the bulk or petroleum class C. Engine shall be diesel engine or internal combustion engine. Exhaust shall be wholly in front of the tank or load as the case may be, and shall have a ample clearance from the fuel system and combustible material, and shall not expose to leak, spillage of the fuel or product, combustions of grease, oil, etc. Exhaust pipe shall be fitted with the approved spark arrestor. Muffler or silencer shall not be cut off from the exhaust system. Engine air intake shall be fitted with the effective flame arrestor or air cleaner having effective flame arrestor characteristics, substantially installed and capable preventing the emission flame from the side the engine in the event of backfiring. Rule 71. It is talks about the electrical installation requirement in the vehicle used for transportation of the petroleum on land by vehicle. Electric light or instrument or any other electrically operated equipment is employed on any vehicle, including trailer, used in the transportation by road petroleum other than the petroleum class C. That pressure of electric circuit shall not exceed 24 volts. Electrical wiring shall be heavily insulated and adequate for the maximum loaded to be carried, suitable over the current production in the form of fuse, automatic circuit breaker, installed as so as to be protected from the physical damage, contact with the possible product spill, have all junction boxes seal condition. The generator, battery, switch, fuse, circuit breaker shall be carried in the cab of the vehicle in the engine compartment, and battery shall be in the easily accessible position with the heavily duty switch close to be cut off the battery. Rule 72. Means of extinguisher of fire to be carried. A portable fire extinguisher, 10 kg dry chemical powder or equivalent suitable for extinguisher petroleum fire shall be carried in a easily accessible and a detachable position and away from the discharge faucet on the every vehicle transporting the petroleum by road. Additional 1 dry chemical powder type fire extinguisher of 1 kg capacity shall be carried in the driver's cabin of the vehicle. So minimum 2 means 1 10 kg, which is should be installed at very easily accessible location, and 1 kg fire extinguisher should be in the driver cabin. Vehicle to be constantly attended. Every vehicle which is engaged in the transport of petroleum by road shall be constantly attended to by at least one person who shall be familiar with the rule in this part provided. Every vehicle in which more than 5 km of petroleum, 5 kiloliters of the petroleum other than the petroleum class C be attended to by the driver and at least one more person, both of the whom shall be familiar with the rule in this part. Prohibition as a parking. No vehicle carrying petroleum by road shall be parked on the public road or in any congested area or at place within 9 meters of any source of fire. Rule 75. License necessary for the transport in the bulk petroleum class A and class B. No person shall transport the petroleum class A or petroleum class B in the bulk by road except under and in accordance with the condition of license granted under these rule. Rule 76, restrictions against loading, unloading of tank vehicle. No person shall load, unload the tank vehicle with any class of petroleum except at the place which is situated within premises licensed under these rule and is approved in writing for loading, unloading of such class of petroleum by the chief controller. Every tank vehicle which, while it is being loaded or unloaded until its valve have been shut and filling pipe and discharge faucet closed, shall be attended to by the person who is the familiar with the rule in this part. Rule 78, precautions against the static charges. All petroleum pipelines entering any tank vehicle loading or unloading area shall be electrically continuous and efficiently earthed. All entire system shall be earthed. And earth boss with the flexible cable having a robust clamping device shall be provided adjacent to the loading point. Sound and electrically continuous hose or metal pipe shall only be used for the loading, unloading of tank vehicle, where the standpipe or metallic loading arm are provided. Civil joint shall have a electrically continuous. Tank filling pipe and chassis of the tank vehicle shall during the loading of tank vehicle be efficiently bonded and connected with the earth boss referred in the sub rule 2 by means flexible metal wire or tape. Precautions against the static charges. Bonding and earthing connection shall not be broken until the loading of the tank vehicle has been completed and filling and dip pipe thereof has been securely closed. Dip rod, if used, shall be lowered into the tank or compartment before loading of petroleum start. Such as a rod shall not be completely raised above the liquid level within 1 minute of the completion of such loading. No tank vehicle shall be loaded at rate exceeding 1 meter per second at delivery end of the filling pipe until the filling pipe is completely submerged in the petroleum. Rule 78, precautions against the static charges. No tank or compartment of any tank vehicle which has last carried petroleum class A shall be filled with the petroleum of any other class if interior thereof has any floating, non-conducting loose object or water. No tank vehicle shall be subjected to the splash loading. Precautions against the electrical hazards and hazard of running engine. No mechanically propelled vehicle for petroleum shall be loaded or unloaded until its engine has been stopped and battery is isolated from the electrical circuit. Engine shall not be restarted and the battery shall not be connected to the electrical circuit until the tank and valve have been securely closed. Rule number 80, precautions against the movement of vehicle during the loading and unloading. Petroleum shall not be loaded into the or unloaded from the vehicle until its have been secured by the efficient breakers. Rule 81, precautions against the product contamination. A tank or compartment which carried the petroleum class A shall not be filled with any other class of petroleum until such tank or compartment has been completely drained of residual oil and its discharge faucet and emergency control valve have been closed firmly. Rule 83, restriction on loading and unloading of petroleum at night, except where the approved electrical lights as specified in the chapter 4 or exclusively used. Loading unloading of tank vehicle carrying petroleum shall be performed between the hours sunrise and sunset. Same requirement for the petroleum transport by sea also. Prohibition of fire and smoking. No fire or other artificial light capable of lighting igniting inflammable vapor shall be allowed on any vehicle containing petroleum class A, otherwise or petroleum class B and C in bulk. No person shall be smoked while on attending such a vehicle. No article or substance capable of causing a fire or explosion shall be carried on such a vehicle. Application. Rule in this part apply only to the transport of the petroleum by means of a pipeline. The rule 87 is applicable transport of the petroleum by pipeline. So there are the three modes we have discussed. One mode, transportation of petroleum by the sea, by the road and by the pipelines. So rule 87 rule 87 talks about the transportation of petroleum by pipeline. The rule in this part apply only the transport of petroleum by means of pipeline, other than those in any area which in the operation for the winning of natural petroleum and natural gas, or both are carried on within the limits of refineries or installation. Right of way to be acquired. For the rule 88 talks about the right of way to be acquired. No pipeline and installation connected with the pipeline shall be constructed without acquiring the necessary land. Leasement and right of the construction thereof and the unhindered access there to for inspection, maintenance, repair, replacement and patrolling. Rule 87 89. Approval of the design and route of the pipeline. No pipeline shall be laid without the prior written approval of the chief controller of the route of the pipeline and the design, construction and working thereof. Rule 90. Design of pipeline and attachment. Pipeline shall be constructed of a suitable steel which is safe for the condition under which it is to be used. Pipeline and components shall be designed and constructed in accordance to the code recognized by the chief controller, OSD standard 141, regarding design and construction requirement for the cross-country hydrocarbon pipeline, and shall be capable of withstand a pressure which shall not be less than the maximum working pressure thereof plus allowable surge pressure, and as anticipated. Provision shall be made for the thermal expansion or contraction of pipeline for the prevention of excessive stress on the pipeline or its anchorage, guide or connections. Pipeline shall be protected by the casing of a steel pipe to prevent the damage to pipeline from the usually extended condition which may be encountered in the railway crossing, road crossing, river, water course crossing, bridge crossing, etc. Means all the crossing shall be done with the case crossing. Design of pipeline and attachments. Bypass of relief wall, pressure limiting stations or automatic shutdown equipment of approved design shall be provided in the pipeline to prevent rising at any time of the pressure in the pipeline to pressure which exceed the design internal pressure by more than 10. Isolation wall shall be installed at each of the following location. One, on the suction end and the discharge end of the pump station in manner that the permit isolation of pump station equipment in the event of any emergency. On each line entering and leaving the installation in the manner that the permit isolation from other facilities. On each main line isolate along the pipeline system that will minimize the damage from the accidental product discharge and appropriate for the terrain in the open country or the location near the city or other populated area. On each lateral takeoff from the trunk line in the manner that the permit shutting off the lateral without interrupting the flow in the trunk line. On each side of the water crossing, it is more than 30 meters wide from the highway high water mark to the high water marks. Laying of pipeline. Pipeline shall be laid in the most favorable route, avoiding for possible known obstruction area in which the unusual external condition prevail. Pipeline shall be laid below the ground level except where the laying thereof above the ground level is desirable for the topographical, economic or other special reason. Where an underground pipeline has to be crossed any existing underground water or gas line, cable, drain, other service, pipeline shall be laid at least 30 centimeters below such service in manner that will not obstruct access to such service for inspection, repair, maintenance. Number of band in the pipeline shall be kept to the minimum by proper grading of trench or support at crossing and other obstacles. Rule 92. Protection against the corrosion. Pipeline shall be protected against the corrosion by suitable coating, strapping, and where the necessary by cathodic protection. Rule 93, hydrostatic testing of pipeline. Before transporting the petroleum for the first time, each pipeline or completed a section thereof shall be filled with the water and the pressure in the line or section as the case may be raised 1.1 time the designed internal pressure and maintained for the period of 24 hours. As per the procedure laid down in the relevant pipeline design code recognized by the Chief Controller, pipeline or section thereof showing any significant drop of the pressure during the period of testing shall not be used for transporting petroleum until the necessary repair have been carried out and satisfactory retest done. Rule 96, checking of gauges. Tank gauges or gauges at the immediately or booster pump station shall be checked at least once a year. Means calibration shall be done every year. Additional and alteration in the pipeline. No addition, alteration to a pipeline shall be carried out without provision approval of the Chief Controller in writing. Chapter 4, electrical installation. Clause number 102, restriction on the electrical installation and apparatus shall, as a provided in this chapter, no electrical wiring shall be installed, no electrical apparatus shall be used in any refinery, installation, storage shed, service station, or in any other place where the petroleum is refined, blended, stored, loaded, or unloaded. Hazardous area. For the purpose of this chapter, an area shall be deemed to be hazardous area where the petroleum having a flash point below the 65 degrees centigrade or any inflammable gas or vapor in concentration capable of ignition is likely to be present. Petroleum or any inflammable liquid having a flash point above the 65 degree is likely to be refined, blended, handled, stored and above its flash points. Classification of Hazardous area. Hazardous area shall be deemed to be zone 0 area if the inflammable gas or vapor are expected to be continuously present in the area. Zone 1 area, inflammable gas or vapor are likely to be present in the area under the normal operation condition. Zone 2 area, inflammable gas or vapor likely to be present in the area only under the abnormal operating condition, failure, rupture of any equipment. Any question arises to the whether the hazardous area is zone 0 or 1 or 2, the decision of the chief controller shall be final. Clause rule for 114, certificate of electrical installation. Before engineering any electrical circuit and any electrical apparatus in hazardous area for the first time and after each repair, maintenance or alteration work carried out in the such circuit or apparatus, competent person shall issue the certificate under the signature to the effect that the circuit and apparatus have been safety characteristics upon which their use in such area has been approved. Rule 115, precautions against the corrosion, where the necessary all the electrical apparatus and equipment conduit carrying the electrical wiring in a hazardous area shall be regularly treated with the suitable protective paints. Chapter 5, storage of the petroleum requiring for license. License for storage. SEBE provide the section 7, 8, 9 of the Act 1934. No person shall store the petroleum except under and accordance with the license granted under these rules. Provided that no license shall be necessary for the storage of the petroleum in the wellhead tank. For the storage of the petroleum, transit cargo within the limits of the port, subject to such condition as may be specified by the conservator. Precautions against the fire. No person shall smoke in the installation, storage, shed, service station, save in place specifically authorized by the licensing authority for the purpose. No person shall carry the matches, fuses and other appliances capable for providing ignition, explosion in any installation or storage shed which is used for the store of the petroleum. No fire, furnace or other source of heat or light capable for ignition inflammable vapor shall be allowed in any installation. Storage shed, service station, save in place specifically authorized by the licensing authority for the purpose. An adequate number of portable chemical powder shall always be kept. Every storage shed, a small class B or C installation at the strategic point, and all the person employed at such location shall be conversant with the use of such fire extinguishers. Rule 118, supervision of operation within the installation service station and storage shed. All operation within the installation service station, storage shed shall be conducted under the supervision of experienced responsible agent or supervisor who is the conservant with the terms and condition of the license held for the installation, service station, storage shed. Case may be, and those persons should have a proper safety training. Rule 119, cleaning of the installation, service and station or storage sheds. 121, exclusion of unauthorized person. Protected area surrounding every installation storage shed shall be surrounded by the wall fence of at least 1.8 meter in height. In case of service station, that should be the 1.2 meter height boundary wall or fence inside there. Then the driveway shall be provided. Precautions shall be taken to prevent the unauthorized person for having the access in any storage shed or installation. Petroleum only to be stored. No installation, service station, storage shed shall, without permission in writing from the chief controller, be used for any purpose other than the storage, distribution, petroleum for the purpose of directly connected therewith. Marking the capacity of the tank, capacity in liter, kiloliter, every above ground tank in any installation shall be marked on the tank. Construction of tank, every tank of receptacle for the storage petroleum bulk other than the wellhead shall be constructed of iron steel in accordance with the code specification approved by the Indian standard or institution or any other code specification approved in writing by the chief controller. Tank other than the receptacle shall be erected in the firm foundation or support non-combustible material in accordance with the sound engineering practice. Height of the storage tank shall not exceed 1.5 times of diameter or 20 meter, whichever less. Protection against corrosion, painting and painting requirements or testing of the tanks. Testing storage, basically storage tank and other the receptacles for the storage of the petroleum bulk other than the wellhead after being the installation and secured in the final position. After undergoing the reinstallation or any major repair shall before being put into the use be tested water pressure by the competent authority. Means the storage tank cannot be used without getting the certificate, without witnessing from the competent authority. Testing of time, water used for testing shall be free from the petroleum and shall not be passed through any of the pipe, pump, ordinary use for the conveyance of the petroleum. Competent person carrying out the testing required under the rule shall issue the certificate tank testing rule 126 and certificate so issued shall be submitted to the licensing authority along with the application for grant the amount of the license in case of any major repair. Earthing of the tank, it is a requirement the tank shall be earthed, so that should be checked by the competent person. Testing of each connection and contact of the tank receptacle required under the rule 127 shall be inspected and tested by the competent person at least once in every 12 months by means of direct reading instruments such as a matter. Night working, no installation storage shed shall be open, no work in any installation storage shed shall be permitted between the sunset and sunrise except where the provided electric light conforming to the provision of chapter 4 are excessively used. Certificate of safety, rule 137, issued by a certificate safety issued by the competent person shall be furnished to the licensing authority before any petroleum is stored in installation or service station for first time whenever any condition alteration enclosure wall and are carried out when the any tank is installed or position shifted. So this is the certificate performer rule 130 which is issued from the competent person for the safety certification. Thank you. Any question? You can write in chat box or you can ask directly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for informative presentation. Please put your questions in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and ask directly. The first question, what are exposure analysis procedure? What
Hello,
are
can
the
I chip in?
precautions to
Hello,
minimize?
hello, can I chip in? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was talking about exposure because these are VOCs that the operators will be exposed to. So generally they do the exposure analysis and then the testing. So what are those limits and who are the authorities who can do the exposure analysis and what are the precautions to minimize the impact of this exposure?
Exposure related to what?
All these VOCs where there is a in the air, people who are near the handling of connecting of the hose pipe and all that, they are exposed to those emissions, right?
Right.
Because these are VOCs. So there
Right,
is a
so-
concept called exposure analysis. So in the rules,
I-
they have not directly mentioned this,
Right.
but when we are talking about the OSHA's implementations and the safety related analysis, we need to
Right.
do the work zone analysis as well as exposure analysis. So I
Right.
just wanted to know, can you add some value or throw some light
Mm.
on these issues? Thank you.
Right, but I think in the rule is not specifically defined.
Surely not, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think I don't have answer of this question. Because specifically rule में तो कुछ ऐसा define है नहीं कि what should be taken and what minimum requirement is defined for that particular analysis.
सर
So we
वही तो
cannot say
प्रॉब्लम
anything.
है, यूएस में ये बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल्स है और कुछ लोग जो
हाँ।
ऑडिट के लिए आते हैं तो ये पूछते हैं। वैसे तो हमारे
Definitely.
इंडियन रूल्स में कुछ है नहीं, और बात भी सही है कि इसके कारण दिक्कत आ सकती है, लेकिन उसकी
Right.
गाइडलाइन कहाँ मिलती नहीं है। इसके लिए मैंने ये सवाल पूछा कि शायद कोई आप
हाँ,
मदद या कोई
no,
कॉन्टैक्ट हमें शेयर
no.
कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि वो
No.
ऑडिटर्स भी बोलते हैं आप खुद देख लो, है ना, तो थोड़ी
Right.
दिक्कत आती है इसमें।
राइट बट ऐसा कोई स्पेसिफिक तो डिफाइन नहीं है, तो सो दैट वी कैन नॉट रिकमेंड कि हाँ ये है। तो इट मे बी कोई अदर कोई दूसरा कोई है जिसको पता होगा तो कैन आंसर।
Yeah, I mean, I thought probably, yeah, I would really await. Anybody can text me or answer anytime. I'm really looking for this. Thank you.
Yes.
And I thought in this August
Noted your
thing
question.
I'll get
We got
answer.
right. I think we will try to your answer if we get the
Yeah,
answer.
I'll just put my contact in the chat box,
Yeah,
and I'll
definitely.
be really obliged if you can help me out. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you. We'll try answer your question. I think no more question. Okay. Thank you.
Abdul ji, I have one question. Hello.
बोलिए सर।
First of all, very good afternoon to you and to all of you.
Yeah.
My question is, actually, recently I conducted audit in one defense location, one Air Force location. Okay. I saw during the audit that there was one more than 30 kL tank was of the class B product for the diesel was available, but nobody was able to respond me that the storage license is there or not there. So
no.
My question is defense location is exempted from this petroleum rules or covered under this petroleum rules? Just I would like to know.
Yes. Actually, डिफेंस सेक्टर को पूरा अलग ही रखा गया है। ओके, पेट्रोलियम रूल में जब जाके देखते हैं आप तो बहुत जगह पे क्लियरली डिफाइन किया है कि दिस रूल इज एग्जेम्प्टेड फॉर द डिफेंस सेक्टर। वहां पे कोई ऐसा स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट डिफाइन ही नहीं किया है डिफेंस के लिए। स्पेशली उन्होंने लिख दिया है रूल के अंदर कि एक्सेप्ट डिफेंस सेक्टर, सो तो यू कैन नॉट डिमांड, वो तो एग्जेम्प्टेड ही है। उनके खुद के अपने रूल भी हैं, दे फॉलो द व्हाटएवर जो भी प्रैक्टिस है उनकी, बट इस रूल में कहीं भी
clearly same is written in this petroleum rules that the defense location
yes बहुत जगह पे डिफाइन है, स्पेसिफिकली डिफाइन किया है कि दिस रूल जहां पर उन्होंने स्पेशल रिक्वायरमेंट मेंशन किया है तो एंड ऑफ दैट जनरल रिक्वायरमेंट में डिफाइन कर दिया है।
Okay, and second question is pertaining to the same storage area. What about the protections for this lightning? Is specifically given in the rules that you have to protect your area from the lightning, or we can adopt the things on our own basis?
नो, स्पेशली नॉट मेंशन, बट द जो डिजाइन की बात कर रहा है कि द कंस्ट्रक्शन मतलब डिजाइन अप्रूवल फ्रॉम द पेसो फॉर द लाइटिंग और जो भी इलेक्ट्रिक पावर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के लिए जो भी आप फैसिलिटीज प्रोवाइड करोगे तो दैट मस्ट बी अप्रूव फ्रॉम द पेसो। वाइल जब आप पेसो के लिए वो भेजोगे तो उसमें जो ओआईएसडी के रूल्स हैं जिसमें डिजाइन रिक्वायरमेंट डिफाइन है फॉर द
Actually
डायरेक्ट नहीं।
Nowadays what is happening now, once we go at one site, we saw this lighting arrestor, okay, then next day we go to the another site, there was no lighting arrestor, so there is some ambiguity, means no unique design are available. Now one person is saying that I'm no, this is not applicable to my premises. I don't require any lighting register. In next day, someone say, sir, no, it is required. So how we can go in a one line that this is really required.
राइट तो पेट्रोल रूल में ऐसा पेट्रोलियम रूल जो हम अभी तक डिस्कस किए हैं इसके अंदर कहीं भी डायरेक्टली कोई भी रिक्वायरमेंट एकदम जो स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट है दे हैव मेंशन क्लियरली। तो बहुत डिटेल में जाने की अगर हम बात करेंगे तो दे हैव मेंशन द ओएसडी स्टैंडर्ड, राइट, जो कि किसी इंस्टॉलेशन के डिजाइन के लिए रिक्वायरमेंट है। तो दैट इज डिफाइंड इन द डिजाइन रिक्वायरमेंट। तो जो एप्लीकेबल इंस्टॉलेशन से एप्लीकेबल ओएसडी स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं देन वी हैव टू रेफर कि उस ओएसडी में ये रिक्वायरमेंट डिफाइन है क्या। Okay, if it is defined, then we can go for then that will be applicable, right?
Thank you, Abdulaziz.
Okay, thank you, Surendra ji.
Thank you, sir. Our next session is on work-life balance by Dr. Santosh Datar. ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development, integrated management system, QMS, EMS, and Ohsms. Excellence in education management, ISO made easy in Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, and Hindi. For reading any of the above book, please contact Ms. Sushma Khindalkar. Feedback form. Please register on www.sadgunsang.org and go in your login and give feedback. On behalf of Sadgun Sang team, I would like to express my gratitude to all esteemed delegates of the webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. We now officially close the session. Thank you.